today's episode of The Scoop, where seniors can overcome obstacles proactively. My name is Denise Jaworski, and here with me today is Dan Blasini. Hey, Dan.
Hi, how are you, Denise?
Good. I'm so glad to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Dan is an expert when it comes to helping veterans in San Antonio. Dan is the Vice President of Veterans Affairs for Warm Springs Rehabilitation Center hospitals here in San Antonio, Texas. Dan works with veterans who have been wounded in combat and cares for veterans and retired service members and their families. He runs a holistical program that helps the whole family and the individual while they're in physical rehab. So that's a lot.
That is a lot.
And I know that none of that even gives justice to what you and your team do each and every day.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for, you're a veteran yourself.
Yes, I'm an Army veteran, Desert Shield veteran.
So for how many years did you serve?
13 years total.
It's a long time. Thank you
Yes.
so much for your service.
No problem.
We are tried and true on respecting our veterans here at Abundant. So thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts for your service.
Thank you.
And the service you continue to do for your veterans here in San Antonio.
Yes,
And
exciting.
it really this program kind of goes outside of San Antonio.
Yes, it actually covers about 13 states now.
Wow.
So we started off about 8 years ago. I started with the company, and our hospital is a physical rehab center, and we started here at Warm Springs in the medical center. And I was recruited to come on because during the war, approximately 10 years ago, there was an influx of active duty veterans getting hurt, and I worked for the Army at the Center for the Intrepid and helping veterans, active duty service members with amputations, burns, traumatic brain injuries, with the recovery process.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I noticed is really going above and beyond for their families, because a lot of the families came in from all over the United States and different countries, because there's a lot of service members that came in from Africa, that came in from Russia, that Germany, that joined our services. So it was a very unique situation to provide services not only for our active duty, but their families and support services.
So this really, San Antonio ends up being a big hub for the military.
Yes, so San Antonio now is like the Pentagon of medical medicine for all the services in the United States.
I didn't realize that.
All the teaching, the education is pretty much done here in San Antonio.
That's amazing.
So there's going to be a huge influx of students from all walks of life, from medics all the way up to physicians. Physical therapists, you name it, occupational therapy, pharmacy schools, everything's going to be done here in San Antonio.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about your program at Warm Springs Rehabilitation Hospital.
Well, we started our program, we've been taking care of the military at Warm Springs for over 25 years. The military really, with the war 10 years ago, they needed someone to help support the VA and the Department of Defense. A lot of times, people were having issues with the transitions of care.
Okay.
And I'm a certified case manager by trade. I'm an RN.
Okay.
And I noticed one of the big things was that VA was having issues with seeing patients in a timely manner, timing their appointments, follow-up appointments, basically access to care and delivery of care.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of complaining about it, I got together with some veterans and said, what can we do to fix things?
I love it.
So we worked together. So I had professional doctors, physical therapists, occupational therapists, nurses, all come together to see what we can do to help the veterans, not only on the VA side, but on the Department of Defense side. So we act as a catalyst between the two. So as people transition from a traumatic injury, AMC is a great level 1 trauma center.
Okay.
Their mission in life is to save people's lives,
Sure.
stabilize them, then get them into a rehab setting, inpatient, which is called subacute level of care, and then to outpatient level of care. So we look at ways to help the individual transition, not only themselves, but their family members that have to go along with this traumatic event that happened. Everything that I've seen in my past history working with patients and veterans and active duty, whenever you have a traumatic injury, you're going to have all this baggage that comes to the surface. Yeah. Can you imagine giving up your job, moving across the country, trying to be with your loved one? There's a lot of guilt issues, there's a lot of denial issues,
Sure.
anger issues, and it affects not only the service member, but their spouse, their children, their grandparents, their neighborhood. It affects everyone.
Yeah.
So we really have to engage everyone and get them all on the same page for that recovery program, and then get them to an outpatient setting where they're modified independent or independent. So I have service members staying in the military.
Yeah.
Denise finishing their career. They change jobs within the military. They get out of the military, go to college, they go to trade school, and they turn around and become productive members of society.
Right.
So
it's a lot of moving parts.
A lot of moving parts, and what we've done is not only take care of the physical and medical need, but we look at what we can do. So we do a needs assessment on each and everyone that comes in the door, and we figure out exactly, because everyone's an individual.
Yeah.
They may need just support for housing this month until their benefits kick in.
Sure.
So we work with nonprofit groups across San Antonio and across the state that help support that. So we utilize for-profit individuals, nonprofit individuals, churches, you name it, military groups, the VA, like Post 76 does a wonderful job for us in regards to helping and piecing everything together.
The pride in all that, though, I mean, it just makes me proud just to hear that someone like yourself and your team is literally being a part of the solution to the problems that our veterans are facing.
Yes, and helping, we're at a point now where we're briefing the VA, we're briefing the Department of Defense in regards to quality issues, in regards to how do we do things from the civilian side, and some of it they take and some of it they don't take, and I get that because there's different policies and procedures that they have to work through too. But the big part is that service member, that veteran has a choice.
Wow.
And sometimes when they're in different stages of the recovery process, they might be in an anger phase where they don't even want to do anything with the Department of Defense or the VA.
Yeah.
And then they utilize us as a civilian factor, and we get them through that process and get them to acceptance phase and say, you really do need to be evaluated for PTSD. You really do need to be evaluated for your medical board from the VA. You really do need to get support to go to school. How do we do that?
And they're working with veterans, so there's a mutual
bond.
Yes, that's so huge.
So it's somewhat of the fraternity, sorority, brotherhood, sisterhood that we work with to take them to the next level. So I look to mentor them. Sometimes I give them a hug, sometimes I give them a head rub, whatever it takes to get them motivated and get them back on track.
Awesome.
And not quitting. Because that's half the battle.
So you kind of covered already why it was started. Do you have to be a veteran to be admitted into Warm Springs Rehabilitation Center?
That's the beauty thing. This is Military City, USA.
Yes.
And the majority of our patients are veterans or family members are veterans. But you don't have to be a military person. We treat everyone the same.
Yes.
And we still do the needs assessments on everyone. And we try to help out everyone and engage them in anything from DME equipment all the way to funding for different things. So we treat them the same as the military, but because it's such a military community, that is what we, in our hospital system, all the decorations are military.
Sure.
You think it's a government hospital.
It's like an extra specialty in addition to all the other great programs you have to offer.
Yes, all the medical programs. And we also have the psychological piece, which is huge.
Huge.
So,
and who else is really covering that? I mean, that right there is the question of the day, or the comment of the day for me, is like there's not a lot of places that have this type of programming embedded in their day-to-day operations.
Correct. So the psych piece is really important because if you don't address all body systems and body parts and one area is lacking, you're not going to get the full outcome of that recovery time.
Right.
So, or buying into it. So we have to engage the family, and we have to engage that service member or the patient or the veteran on what they need. So sometimes it can be they're denying everything, and they're like, I don't have this problem. And sometimes it takes 3 people to connect with them.
Right.
Sometimes it takes that one vet to connect with them that's been to combat and understands things.
Sure.
Sometimes it's a religious person that comes in the door and talks to them and connects with them. Sometimes it's a psychiatrist. Sometimes it's a psychologist. Sometimes it's the licensed social worker, the counselor that comes in the door. Everyone's different.
Sure.
And we look at ways for them to teach them how to cope.
Yeah. So you really look at it uniquely.
Yes.
Yeah.
For that individual person.
Love it.
And then we all meet as a team. So if they're meeting goals already, we back off because they're independent in that area.
Yeah.
And if they still need support for like physical therapy or occupational therapy or PTSD, well then we can take it to the next level and give them counseling services in the VA, in the community, at the Army base.
So these are
wherever they wanna go to.
assessments or questions that are asked through their whole rehabilitation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
exactly.
I mean, if they're great for 7 days and then all of a sudden something's noticed in this area, it's brought to the proper attention.
Yes.
Love it.
Exactly.
So
And
awesome.
it could be anything.
Very proactive though.
Yes. So even we were looking at a discharge plan yesterday for an individual, and when I went and spoke with him, he looked fine. He's like, "I'm ready to go tomorrow, Dan. Let's make this happen." But when this guy was standing up, his blood pressures were still dropping.
Oh.
So there's things that we had to do. So mentally he was great, motivational he was great, his heart wasn't great. So we had to slow things down and get the cardiologist involved to see if it was a medication issue. Did they have to do another surgical intervention?
Yeah.
All these things had to happen before he's discharged.
Love it. So thorough. How long does someone stay at Warm Springs and how much does it cost?
The length of stay varies. The average length of stay for an acute rehab hospital is about 11 days across the country. We average about 10 and a half days.
Okay.
So cost can vary, but it's really based on your insurance. Obviously, if you have an auth, you have an outcome. And we have different changes in our insurance, which we can have another hour conversation about. But basically, we take all insurances from Medicare, Medicaid, all the commercial payers,
Okay.
TRICARE, obviously, TRICARE Prime, TriWest for the VA.
Okay.
So we help the VA with their Mission Act and everything that goes along with their community care programs
Sure.
for access, because we're contracted in 40 hospitals with the VA.
That's a lot. So if someone needs the services, would they just call you directly and then you run the insurance to determine if it meets qualification?
Yes.
Okay.
So we can do it a couple ways. So we actually do assessments in the home.
Okay.
We can do it in a clinic.
Love this.
We can do it in the ER. We can do it.
So for someone really
in the
to have
hospital
that
system.
bridge rehab, they don't got to go straight to a hospital. They can call you all to come and assess at home.
Correct.
That's
and sometimes
great.
they don't even meet our level of care.
Yeah.
And then we can direct them to a home health agency
Sure. Or a rehab.
or a rehab or an LTAC, which is a little bit more intense if
Right.
you have an exacerbation. And
So it can go lighter or heavier depending if you're not the fit.
correct.
Love it. Yeah, it's
it
good
works out.
stuff, man.
So they can always call our Warm Springs admissions number in regards to that. That's 210-616-0100.
Okay. And we
That's
will
perfect.
plug that on the bottom of the screen. We'll give you another opportunity to talk about that in a minute as well, because we want to make sure that our audience is going to be able to reach out to you all and ask additional questions if they have it.
That's perfect.
What type of patients do you serve? Like, what do you
What do you
primarily say? I know it's like,
The typical day is not typical for us, but we see a lot of patients that have had knee injuries, so knee replacements, hip injuries and replacements, traumatic injuries from car crashes, for example, motorcycle accidents, fishing accidents, work injuries.
okay.
You know, there's a lot of oil rig stuff that we had a lot of explosions last year, so we had a lot of burn patients that came in, cardiac patients, amputees, which is really we see a lot of in San Antonio. We have neurological conditions, so Parkinson's, MS, for example.
Okay.
So basically, every disease process we can help with the rehab. Even cancer patients, we bring cancer patients in between their chemo,
Okay.
and that helps them stay focused, motivated, and we can take care of their medical needs as well until their next dose. So we do that too as well.
I did not realize that you all took care of that as well. You guys cover a lot.
Yes,
Cover a
and
lot.
everybody's an individual, and everyone has their own, needs and challenges, and we have to develop our care plan to match that.
Yeah, I love
Which
the
we do.
unique approach. I love it. How do you care for veterans with PTSD and anxiety issues?
A lot of times it's all about the approach. So with PTSD and anxiety, we look at building trust. Trust is the biggest one. So they have to be in a safe, secure environment, number one. So we have noise control, we have security where we have to badge in, badge out. Not everyone can walk in off the street to visit. There's the staff that's been there as well. but has a very good rapport with them. So that establishes the base trust and everything that we need to do to start with that. Then we have a conversation. What's your trigger? Everyone has triggers.
Yeah.
And things that'll make them have those stressful events.
Mm-hmm.
So we look at ways to, one, identify what those triggers are, and two, learn the coping skills. Sometimes it's redirection. I'll give you a quick story. When I case managed the individual, I said, you have to follow up with me every Tuesday. And he told me, I can't follow up with you on Tuesday. I said, why not? He said, it's trash day. And I'm like, what does that mean to me?
Right.
He goes, well, I can't drive when it's trash day. And I was totally dumbfounded. And I said, I don't understand. What? You need to be here at 10 o'clock on Tuesday. You need to be here. I got into the military standard.
Yeah.
And he said, I can't do it. And I said, what happened? And he goes, well, they hid the IED in the trash. So every time I see the trash cans, I can't drive.
Wow.
So I said, okay, we'll make your appointment on Wednesdays.
Right.
And he came to every single appointment.
Well, and the importance of digging into that and really seeking to understand first, right?
Yes.
It's so important. Because
Yes.
sometimes it's easier for us to just be like, no, it's Tuesdays at 10, but finding out what was really stumbling him
Yes.
really made his whole plan
Yes. And then
be
he started,
successful.
then he started coping and
Wow.
driving on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which were the trash days. And now he's doing well. He's back in school.
That is such an awesome story. I
Yes.
love that.
Yes.
That's a good success story.
Yes.
Just to go to show about all the wonderful things you guys can do over
It's
there.
the little things that you can do to change someone's life.
Yeah.
That one little trick.
So I want to talk about veteran seniors for
Yes,
a second.
I love
So obviously here at Abundant Senior Living Solutions, we service seniors. A lot of times for them to go into the proper senior living community, they need the aid and attendance.
Yes.
Would you care to kind of touch base, like if a senior comes through your system over there, do you all help with that process any?
Great question. Yes, we have 2 people on staff that will help with any level of care and paperwork and process to help someone with that process for the procedure to get that approved.
Right, because
So
it's
yes.
a little tedious paperwork process.
Oh, there is a bureaucracy in everything that we do. So we have 2 individuals that will do that, and then we also have the staff, the occupational therapist, the physical therapist, a nurse that will go through that application process before it hits our physical medicine and rehab physician that will review everything and sign off. So we actually have a process to make that happen.
And it probably helps the process go through because all the documentation's there.
Yes, a lot of times when you look at something, when you have multiple professions saying someone needs something,
Yes.
most likely they're going to get approved for it.
Yeah, this is great.
It's the truth.
Such great stuff here. I just would like for you to take about a good 30 seconds and let our audience know how can they get in touch with you and these great programs you guys have to offer over there.
Well, you can always find Warm Springs on the website. If you Google Warm Springs Post-Acute Medical, it'll give you all of our locations within the state of Texas and multiple states. And then obviously calling our local number to have someone come out to your home, because we do home assessments. So we see people at the VA, in the TRICARE clinics, in the federal clinics, anywhere you're at. If you're having a problem, especially veterans, we'll come to you and see what we can do to help you out. But basically our big number to call is that 210-616-0100, and that'll definitely put you on track to talking to a real person to help you with your personal needs.
Thank you so much, Dan, for coming and joining us today. Your information, I'd love to have you back.
Thank you. I'd love to come back.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us for today's episode of The Scoop, and stay tuned next week for more episodes. And remember, Abundant Senior Living Solutions is here to help you find a place for mom and dad. So if you're looking for that right place and not sure where to go, our services are free and our number is located at the bottom of the screen.